The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, Earnestly Speaking podcast. Let's get it. I'm a giant in New York, in Miami carry heat. So much more in store, my product can flood the street. Opinion Nation Godfather, CEO. Huff in the late 90s, gon' see me blow. Oh. Got my hustle on, no imitation of bad. Army of untouchables, Opinion Nation staff. Never an off season, homie, check the numbers. Heart throbbing my own right, supplying southern comfort. Earnestly speaking, my ego is well fed. Earnestly speaking, you're too feeble and no threat. See, I'm like a hurricane, you're a mild breeze. Earnestly speaking, leaving Eli a dynasty. Shake!
Earnestly Podcast coming to you once again on Tuesday, December 17th, 2024. It is the second pod of the day. This time it is a solo episode. How you guys doing? Really been wanting to do this a little while now. It's funny. You get to a point now where like it gets harder to actually do more solo podcasts now than before. It's but yeah, I gotta get this in. Of course, follow me on all podcast catchers, Earnestly Podcast, all podcast catchers. Lots I want to touch on. A few things to touch on. This week, for example, I will say we're gonna go heavy on podcasts. This week we're gonna have a bunch of pods. 2 today, got a few more this week. And then next week, Christmas week, we're going to pretty much go light, very light, if not dark. Obviously, the Christmas week, falls on days where we typically do most of our podcasts, Tuesday and Wednesday. And I also want to spend more time with my family. My nieces will be here for those 2 weeks as well, too. Also, so a lot of my podcast time will be, all my time actually, especially during the day, will be dedicated to being the best uncle and father. In those 2 weeks, so you'll see a lot less podcasts after this week for the rest of 2024. But we'll go hard on this one. We'll go heavy. We'll go strong on the this last week. Look at that as a Christmas gift to you guys, to you folks who love my content. I really appreciate you guys continue to follow, subscribe, share, like, whatever platform you find this stuff on, where this material may find you. I do appreciate your support. Continue to share the work. I love what I do. I will continue loving what I do, and that's that. I do want to touch a couple things. This won't be too much a long one though, but I do want to touch on a couple of things I missed last week and some things that come up last couple of days. I want to touch on. I didn't have a chance to react to the Juan Soto news. Him signing with the Mets. Now, prior to Juan Soto signing with the Mets, I did have opinions about whether or not the Mets should want him, based on the price tag that we were likely going to sign him for. And not only did they sign him to that money, it was even more money than I thought they would sign him for. 15 years, $765 million for Juan Soto. That comes out to about $51 million annually. He has to opt out 2029. There are no deferments in this deal. He gets a lot of like amenities, including a suite and tickets for games. I think 4 tickets per game, within 72 hours of games, of course. And my feeling is still the same when it comes to Juan Soto in terms of how do I feel about the signing as a Met fan versus how I feel as a person who loves baseball and also is, looking at things a little more prudent. Now, if I was 20 years younger, even 10 years younger, I'd be probably a little more excited. And look, I am not saying I'm not excited. Anytime you get a player of his magnitude who's people may consider a generational player of his age, he's 25, 26 years old. I think actually 26 years old. You have to consider the fact that it's a win. Okay, you're adding to the team. They didn't lose anybody by adding him. I mean, we'll see if they retain Pete Alonso, which word is that's still the priority that Steve Cohen wants to re-sign Pete Alonso as well too, to keep that core together along with Juan Soto adding to the team. But what I've been saying for the last year and even the last couple months and last couple weeks prior to this was that, and I'm still there. I'm still my opinion has not changed even with this being past tense. Is that that's a shit ton of money for him? That is a lot of fucking money. Okay. And look, again, I ain't mad about it. Okay. It ain't my money. At the end of the day, I'm still staying 10 toes down what I said before the signing. 10 toes down on that. 10 toes down on the fact that it's a lot of money. Okay. But what else? How did I also preface that statement? It's not my money. Okay. If Steve Cohen and that front office have the green light to do this, who am I to argue? Okay. Now, was it more prudent for the Mets to go after to keep the core together with Alonso and a couple of pieces and then use that money towards pitching? I still lean that way, but I see the argument. But I understand why they bring a guy like Soto. Number one, I think he's types on the players on the team, most notably Francisco Lindor. There's marketing dollars we made us as well too on this one. So they're gonna make money up also on marketing as well. So I don't think Steve Cohen will go broke doing this because at the end of the day, Steve Cohen is one of the richest men on the planet. So I'm not mad about that. But I also look at things when I look at sports now as a 44-year-old man. I'm a little more prudent with that. Is it more prudent to, fill out the roster, use that money and fill out the roster with productive players to compete? Because in baseball, baseball is the ultimate team sport. It is the ultimate team sport. But I'm not mad about it. I'm still excited about Soto. And I know once opening day comes around, I'm going to be very, very much excited about the situation. So I'm not going to be like, oh my God about it. But, my opinion, my attitude is still the same as it was beforehand. I'm not a hypocrite about that. Is that I personally don't view him as that kind of price tag. The only player I can even remotely see worth that kind of money is Shohei Ohtani. And one, he plays both sides of the diamond. He's also a worldwide spectacle. He's huge in Japan in a much bigger market than compared to where Juan Soto's from, the Dominican Republic. So from that angle, is where I have the negative of that. But again, it's not my money. I don't care. And let me rephrase that. I do care, but I'm not going to bitch about it. So it is what it is. But obviously, when we get closer to spring training, and of course in April when baseball starts, I'll be excited about it, of course. But yeah, we'll see. Now the pressure's on the Mets now. The pressure's on the Mets now to do the damn thing to try to get a World Series. So at least get to the World Series again, first time in almost 10 years. We'll be 10 years by next year. 2015 was the last time I went there. And hopefully they can rekindle that run again. Because last year's run was fun. I'll be honest. Like I said, they didn't get to the World Series. They were 2 games away from the World Series. It was still a very fun run. They lost against arguably the best, or I would say this Dodgers team is probably one of the best teams on paper we've ever seen in baseball history. People talk about the 1998 Yankees were up there, and there's an argument for that, but this Dodgers team is pretty damn good. So on paper and talent. But we shall see. We shall see on that. All right. What else? I've been kind of frustrated lately too. As of late, with fellow New York Giants fans. Giants now 2-12. They've now lost 9 in a row. I think it is 9 in a row. And obviously they're falling apart. And they are in line to have one of the first 2 picks of the draft, in the April NFL draft. And that's where you want to be. I would think any New York Giant fan with common sense would think that, would embrace that. And I say that as somebody that's not necessarily pro tanking, but I understand that for you to get what you need to get the best player possible, you need to be in a position to do that. And unfortunately, that requires you losing games. And look, again, I'm not sitting there saying that I like the idea of tanking. It is still uncomfortable for me to watch my team lose games, and I'm not rooting for them either. Like they're playing Baltimore this weekend, and like here's Lamar Jackson doing his damn thing over my team, and I'm like happy about it. Which, by the way, for the record, I am rooting for the Ravens win the Super Bowl this year because I'm a big Lamar Jackson guy, so I would love for him to get a title finally. But it's strange for me to also root against my team because I love my team. But I also understand bigger picture. It's more prudent for the New York Giants to not be good. Okay. Now, look, these players don't care. These players on the field don't care. They're trying to secure jobs next year, whether it's in New York, whether it's any other team. But at the same time, look, I'm not comfortable with tanking, but I also understand that this is what we need to do to get ahead. Okay. Now, here's where my frustration lies. I'm going on social media and all these New York Giants, Facebook groups and whatever related groups, and people are legit mad about the way they're playing. And I'm sitting there saying, guys, if you want Shedeur Sanders from Colorado, if you want Cam Ward from Miami, or do you even have a chance of those guys? They can't win games. They have to lose games. Those guys are going to be off the board in the first two, at worst 3 spots in the draft. So we need to be in position, especially when you have like multiple teams that are only 1 win better than we are. Like the Jaguars has 3 wins right now, I think. Tennessee has 3 wins as well too. So we can afford really to start winning games now, in risk of losing our draft spot. You know, we are in a spot right now where, and I don't know, many people feel differently about Shedeur and Cam Ward, and if they're generational quarterbacks. I think there's arguments in both ways, but we won't know until we see it. We need a quarterback. Look, the Giants need a quarterback. End of discussion. Okay, they need a quarterback. There is no quarterback in the open market, or we expect to be in the open market this coming offseason, that is going to change this team's chances or alter his teams in a positive way. The only quarterback right now that many believe are going to be, well, let's put it this way: the best quarterback most likely hit the market next year is Sam Darnold. I mean, obviously Sam Darnold's had a phenomenal year, but are you prepared to pay Sam Darnold $30-40 million a year, if not more? If you're in the New York Giants, you need to reset completely. Okay, this is an opportunity for you to go start from the bottom. Hopefully, Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen, and I'm hoping for my sake, because I think they've actually done somewhat decent with drafting players. Malik Neighbors, of course, being one guy. Look, they got a lot of shit for what they've done the Saquon Barkley thing and let him go and all that, and him going to the Eagles and him doing that thing. It is what it is, that one. I think they've done a decent job outside of the Saquon thing. That being said, my only fear is that the Giants have fallen apart so bad now to the point where John Mara is now going to want to probably fire Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen, and I don't want that to happen either, because I am so sick and tired of changing damn coaches every 3 years now. I'm so sick of it now. We need some stability, and to boot, these guys weren't the guys that drafted Daniel Jones in the first place. That was Dave Gettleman. So we need to allow these guys to pick the groceries one more time. Let Daboll and Schoen, at the very least, pick the quarterback. And if they pick the wrong quarterback going forward, then you fire them, obviously. But allow them to pick the quarterback. So, Giant fans, please stop bitching, okay? We need to lose games, okay? The nightmare's almost over. We have 3 more games to go. It's going to be okay, okay? We're going to get to January. This will all be, the 2024 season will be in the past, okay? And then we'll focus on where we're at position-wise in the draft, okay? But please stop. We need to lose games. Let the process happen. Let's take our medicine, okay? Let's go 2-15, call it a day. Because when that we're 5-12, you know, it's not going to behoove us to win a game or 2 going forward. What is that going to do? Okay, Drew Lock sucks. Tommy DeVito sucks. Tim Boyles absolutely sucks. They're not the answers. There's no one in the open market to get. Okay, you want to trade with Dak Prescott? Oh, well, good luck with that one, because you trade with Dak Prescott, you're hooked on him for $60 million on the books. Not a bad quarterback, but you got to start fresh. We need a quarterback in the draft. We need to get Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. Stay the course of this, please. The nightmare's almost over. Okay, please. Good Lord. Anyway, so my favorite podcast is going right now, which, by the way, I just found out they're coming down here to Miami in April. I might go see them. My favorite podcast right now going, sports podcast, is a show called It Is What It Is, and it's hosted by Cameron and Mace. Cameron Mace, of course, if you guys are hip-hop connoisseurs, you know that they are famous rappers from the 90s and 2000s. Mace became a minister, I think, late after a couple albums in the 90s. Cameron is one of the most underrated MCs in the history of the genre. Cameron has started his own media company in recent years. He started his own sports podcast. This podcast started about, I think, like maybe 2 years ago, and it blew up. It blew up last year, really, and it got on my radio about a year ago. But over the course of the last 6 months, I really started prioritizing their content to the point where now they do a show every morning, 8 o'clock. They drop their first episodes 8 o'clock every morning, Monday to Friday. About an hour, a little more, a little less than an hour, depends on who they have on there. and the show is phenomenal. I love the show. I listen to it to me, it's appointment listening to every day because they're authentic to who they are. They don't clean up their language. They talk in the same way to talk to regular people. They don't, they're not on corporate TV like ESPN where they curse on there. They use the N-word all the time, which, hey, you may not like it. That's cool. I get it. They just talk like the way they talk to folks in a normal setting. And they had Snoop Dogg as a guest on there last Monday. Snoop Dogg was on there to talk sports. Obviously, he's a big sports guy, big Steelers fan, big Lakers fan. He also has a new album coming out, but actually came out on Friday, which by the way, for record, I really enjoy. And I know Snoop Dogg has been a sports fan for a long time. I've heard him talk on different platforms through the years, but hearing him for an hour on this show, analyze the Steelers, analyze the NFL at large, basketball, all that, I was thinking, seeing what Cameron Mason is doing right now currently, in the genre, hip hop genre, and doing it on sports show, and really legit too, and they know what to talk about. Snoop Dogg should have his own sports podcast as well. Like, seriously, Snoop Dogg, and I know I got some pushback last week on social media when I said this, because like people thought I was serious. I wasn't being serious. And I'm being serious. Like, to me, I know we are so used to being raised on, okay, when we hear sports being analyzed by professionals, we call it, or journalists, and suit and tie and buttoned up. And I get all that. And there's a market, and there's still a market for that still today. Okay, there's still a market for that today. And I'm not even knocking that, because I still have my shows. There's still my traditional shows that I still listen to once in a while. Mike Francesa once in a while. Obviously, Colin Cowherd, Rich Eisen, Stephen A. Smith, First Take, all those guys, First Take First. But there's also another lane of people, athletes, some actors, definitely artists, some of them are not good, but there's some who are really good. Like Pat McAfee has a lane. Pat McAfee, former punter, former NFL player, he's now kind of, he's the big dude now, in media, certainly with the most eyeballs, one of the most eyeballs in media, brings his barbershop type talk to the forefront. Cameron makes the shows the same way. So is Snoop Dogg. Snoop Doggy Dogg can actually have his own show, I think. Now, he probably have to be part of talent. I don't know if I can see him hosting the show, but I can see him in a situation where like he has one hosting and he gives his opinions. But he has strong opinions, and some of his opinions, honestly, for a guy in his genre, he talks like someone you hear in a barbershop. Like, I don't expect him to be like, he knows all the cap numbers, and this cap number here, and there's the apron here, and the cap hit here. Like, that's what a journalist, and that's what an analyst. It's the people who go beyond, and that's their job. But to at least be able to be entertaining, number one, which Snoop Dogg definitely is entertaining. Let's start there. And also, on top of that, he also knows the basics. He knows the good and bad of the NBA, the good and bad of the NFL. He knows what he's talking about. He broke down the entire situation with Mike Tomlin last week on the show about how the quarterback situation between Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, why was right move and all that. And hear him break it down. Again, this is not Adam Schefter talking. This is Snoop Dogg, the artist, the hip hop artist, who sang Doggy Style and Gin and Juice, all that. And he pulls it off well because, number one, he's not trying to be better than anybody else, and number two, he's entertaining. So I wouldn't mind seeing a Snoop Dogg podcast in the near future. And maybe he has an idea. Maybe one day he will do it. I don't know, but he should consider it, definitely. All right, music. So one of my favorite bands all time, well, definitely top 15 band, definitely, System of a Down. They have not been together probably in about close to 20 years. Their last album, I believe, was in 2004. They did a double album, Mesmerized, Hypnotized, and after that, they didn't put him on records. They've pretty much been on hiatus for about, let's say, about 18, 20 years. But they've been doing shows, one-off shows here and there, every so often. And last week was announced that they're going to be doing a tour, quote-unquote tour. Now, it's not going to be a tour. It's only 3 shows in the States. They're going to be doing a show in Chicago. They're going to be doing a show in Canada. And then they're doing a show as well, too, in New Jersey / New York, New Jersey, MetLife Stadium. Stadium show. And I want to go. And I've never seen them live before. They're playing with Korn. They're playing with Avenged Sevenfold. I think Deftones. I know that if they're all playing the same show, there's like they're doing those bands are going to appear one show or the other. I know the one in Jersey, the one I want to go to, is going to be with Korn and I believe Ren Simple. I think I'm not sure. Bands I've already seen before in the past, and not to say I wouldn't see them again, but I've seen them before in the past. But I've never seen System of a Down live. And it's funny because like System of a Down for me, I wasn't a huge fan of theirs when they first came out. First album, 99, the Southside album, the song was Sugar. Didn't like them. I've heard them first time, like, not my speed. Didn't care about it. And then 2 years later, I heard Toxicity for the first time, the album Toxicity. And Toxicity is a perfect rock record. Toxicity is in my personal top 10 favorite albums of all time. It is absolutely unskippable. I think it's 13 songs in there. Every single song, unskippable. That album is worth listening to from start to finish every time. That album is perfection. And from there, I became a huge fan of those guys. Okay. So my wife is also a big fan of theirs, and I was initially going to try to go without her to the show because I didn't think she would want to go because as much as she loves concerts and stuff and music, there's certain bands she it's got to be like Paul McCartney or someone that Incubus, a band that she's absolutely invested into for her to want to travel, not just travel, forget travel in the state, to travel outside the state. And we have some coworkers and friends of ours that are going to the show. And my wife wants to go. And now we're considering actually going to Jersey next summer. The problem is I do need to find babysitters because we're not taking the kids this one. My wife and I don't really do much vacationing. We haven't done much vacationing alone since being parents. So it's something we'll have to consider. So if we do get coverage for our kids for we're going to go for 2 days, that'd be great. But we are considering going to the show in Jersey. I believe the concert's in August 25th, I think it is, or 26th. It will be during school, obviously, for next year when my oldest will be in 7th grade, my youngest will be in 3rd grade. But we are definitely considering going to the show. We are actually working on parameters, and if I get coverage for my kids, I am definitely going to be there. So System of a Down with Korn, possibly Ren Simple, possibly Deftones, and some other bands on there. I'm hoping to make this work out. And look, we only live once, and System of a Down is not a band they're not even active. They're not even touring. They're doing one-offs, and who knows if they will ever have a chance, if they ever will do another show again or a tour or an album. I hope they do, but that's their prerogative. And so far in the last 20 years, I've not done anything of the sort. So the opportunity here to go see them live is there, and I need to take advantage of it. But whether or not it'll work out, we shall see. All right. Last thing out of here. Last thing. This past Saturday, we saw the return of WWE's Saturday Night's Main Event. And you guys know me personally, as a diehard wrestling fan, a diehard WWE fan, of all the things I've done in that company through the years, WrestleMania, SummerSlams, you name it, all the events they've done, all the things they've accomplished. My personal favorite show or events, or what do we call that, is Saturday Night Event. You guys know I'm an old school fan from the 80s, Hulkamania era, the whole nine. And that remains my favorite piece of WWE legacy to watch. Okay. A lot of it has to do with the fact that not just the great matches, the great moments, it also has to do with the fact that that show mainly featured Jesse The Body Ventura. And he came back this weekend for the first time in the company in 20-something years. I think he did the main event. I was in and out watching the show, in and out. But he was there in commentary for most of the show. And it's like it never left. Like, obviously, he's a little rusty, some of the names, because it's been 20-something years. And some of these guys he's now familiarizing with now. For example, he called Kevin Owens Kevin Owen. But, that's never there. But otherwise, in terms of the delivery, in terms of storytelling, he still has it. And it's that voice. Jesse has that voice. Jesse, to me, is, personal opinion, not only the greatest wrestling color commentator ever, he's also, in my opinion, my favorite color commentator ever in any form of sports. Whether it be football, basketball, doesn't matter. I am a diehard Jesse Ventura fan. I've always said his magnum opus to me. If you listen to his commentary, WrestleMania 5, Hulk Hogan versus Macho Man Randy Savage main event, that entire 3 hours, he just is a absolute masterpiece on how to sell and how to tell stories as a heel commentator. The guy, you look at all these, and look, we've had some great ones through the years, commentators through the years in WWE, in any other form of wrestling, WCW, you name it. But Jesse, to me, is still the GOAT. Like, to me, my favorite team of commentators is Jesse with Gorilla Monsoon. Okay? Or even Jesse with Vince. Jesse made so much guys better. Jesse made the events you watch better. Jesse knew how to tell stories. Jesse still, even this past Saturday, told stories, teased possible changes of characters. He's the greatest. Like, much as I like Jerry Lawler, which is here and there for me. Much as I like Corey Graves, who's really good what he does. Jesse Ventura's the best, man. And he's my all-time favorite color commentator in wrestling, in sports. It doesn't matter. The guy has that voice. He has an ear. He knows how to watch storytelling. He knows how to translate that. He's the best, dude. He's absolutely the best. So yeah, if you get a chance to watch the stand-up event from this past Saturday, check it out. He still has it, man. Even in the 70s, that dude is such an interesting figure too in general as well. Not just the fact he's a great what he does. I mean, he did an interview. This is kind of funny too. Also, before I get out of here, he did a lot of promotion leading up to this event on Saturday. He was on Info Network, for example, promoting it. His interview with Bill Simmons 2 weeks ago, fantastic. He's very transparent, honest. He, as a guy who's a former governor of Minnesota, he's very transparent, honest about who he is as a person, who he voted for, his position on politics. He's not a Trump guy. He hates Hulk Hogan. He thinks that if he ran against Trump in an election this year or 4 years ago, or even before that, he would win. And I agree with that for the record, because he is actually a very common sense guy. If you look at his political positions, for example, very common sense, very centrist leaning guy, progressive enough in certain areas, but capitalist in the other areas, very honest and to a fault. Very popular governor of Minnesota. I would easily vote for president without question. If he ever ran for president, I would vote for him. And he said he was approached a couple times about doing it, but he said no, not worth it. But yeah, Jesse Ventura, truly the greatest of all time. And if you get a chance to check out that those 2 hours on the main event from this past Saturday in WWE Network, or Peacock for rather, check it out. And that would do it for me. Again, dated once again, second time today, December 17, 2024. My YouTube channel, guys, Earnest EJ Christian on YouTube. The podcast goes Earthquake Podcast across all podcast catchers. And until next time, we will talk soon and later.
Thank you.